Excise duty on property application. The provisions of this chapter shall apply to collection and payment of duty on property in terms of entries in columns 2 to 4 against S number 1 in column 1 of Table 3 of the first schedule to the Act. 91. Definitions or context. In this chapter, unless there is anything repugnant in the subject, a developer means a person engaged in development of land for conversion into residential or commercial plots and sale thereof, and includes a housing society, a cooperative society, a development authority, or a similar entity engaged in the development of land for conversion into residential or commercial plots and sale thereof. BC.D. 92. Builder means a person engaged in construction of residential or commercial buildings for sale thereof, and includes a housing society, a cooperative society, a development authority, or a similar entity engaged in the same construction activity. Duciable property means excisable property, as specified in the Table 3 of the first schedule to the Act. An open plot means any immovable property without a superstructure. Procedure for collection of duty. 1. Every developer or builder at the time of allotment or transfer of commercial property and first allotment or first transfer of open plots or residential property shall collect duty at the rate of A, 3% of gross amount of consideration involved, where the buyer is appearing on active taxpayer list, maintained under Section 181A of the Ordinance on the date of acquisition of the property. B, 5% of gross amount of consideration involved, where the buyer has not filed the income tax return by due date as specified in proviso to Rule IA of 10th Schedule to the Ordinance. Or C, 7% of gross amount of consideration involved, where the buyer is not appearing on active taxpayer list maintained under Section 181A of the Ordinance on the date of acquisition of the property. The duty collected by developer or builder shall be credited to the federal government on the same day through a computerized payment receipt, CPR, or swaps payment receipt, SPR, as set out in the Form A attached to these rules. 3. The developer or builder shall furnish to the Commissioner a monthly statement as per Form B attached to these rules. In 4. Where for any reason the duty is not paid or short paid by way of credit to the federal government by the developer or builder, the Officer Inland Revenue having jurisdiction over the developer or builder for the purposes of the Act shall proceed to collect the amount of duty so unpaid or short paid under Section 14 of the Act and the amount of default surcharge under Section 8 of the Act on the duty unpaid or short paid for the period commencing on the date on which the duty was due and ending on the date on which it was paid. 5. Where at the time of recovery of duty it is established that the duty that was to be collected from a person has meanwhile been paid by that person, no recovery shall be made from the developer or builder who had failed to collect the duty, but the developer or builder shall be liable to pay the default surcharge at the rate as provided under Section 8 of the Act, from the date the person failed to collect the duty to the date the duty was paid.